Good day, all C3RF members across the country and indeed around the world, and welcome to another edition of In Hot. We're very fortunate to have with us today Angelina Ireland, who is basically spearheading the battle, not against MAiD, but for initiatives that would see the aid or the MAiD processes being left up to individuals for their own choosing. Now, Angelina was born and raised in Winnipeg, Manitoba. She attended the University of Winnipeg, where she received a bachelor degree in arts, and then went to Ottawa and earned a master's degree from the Carleton University. Afterward, she went to live in London, England, where she entered the world of credit and finance. Upon returning to Canada, she worked in Toronto and then moved to Vancouver and worked as an accountant. In 2013, after a diagnosis of cancer, she became a client at the Delta Hospice Society. When she recovered to good health, she joined the board of directors, and in 2019, she was elected president of the board. As of February 2024, she's moved into a full-time operations position as the executive director of the Delta Hospice Society. For many years, Angela has been engaged in a battle not only to defend Delta Hospice Society from various levels of government and euthanasia activists, but to also protect palliative care in Canada itself. So welcome to In Hot, Angelina. It's a real pleasure to have you on board with us. And the last time we talked, I recall it was October of 2021, and you were embroiled in a battle royale over the over the board, who was going to be in control of the board of the Delta Hospice Society at that time frame in 2021. For our members, can you just outline what happened at that time, and then we'll carry the history forward.
Yeah, so after the BC NDP government had their way with us, then we faced the euthanasia activists, and they came for us trying to pick up, like vultures, trying to pick up the rest of the Delta Hospice Society and the rest of our assets and use them basically in advocacy for MAiD. Yeah. And so we ended up at the AGM with two sides: the pro-MAiD activists, spurred on by people like Dying with Dignity Canada, and the other side, which they'll call us, pro-life, but basically we're pro-palliative care. And, sticking with the authentic vision of the Delta Hospice Society to protect palliative care. And so the meeting came, we had over 5,000 attendees.
Wow.
Yeah, and we won. We won resoundingly, 75% against 25%.
Yes.
And we were able to, hold on to the vision of which is now a 34-year palliative care organization. And they had to go with their tails between their legs. They had to leave. So they left. We continue to steer the Delta Hospice Society towards providing authentic, historically accurate palliative care services.
Yes. Now, that this all happened after the events of the spring of 2021, when, as you say, Delta Hospice Society had been in the business of palliative care for decades, and you had gone out and over the time period had gone out with donations and procured property and built buildings to provide palliative care. And then all of that was basically whisked away by the BC government, by the British Columbian government in that spring of 2021 timeframe. How were they able to do that? Because it seems like did they give you any recompense for the buildings, for the property, for anything that you had built up?
No, they took it all. So it was all appraised at that moment at $8.5 million. They took it all. They gave us nothing. They gave us a good swift kick in the butt out the door. 30 days notice of eviction. They not only evicted us, of course, they evicted our patients, dying patients in the hospice. They then, after they kicked us out, they carted off about 5 people to a hospice in some hospice in the Fraser Health region. Yeah. They closed the doors. 2 weeks later, they reopened our hospice with all of our stuff in it still. And they now operate that hospice under the Fraser Health Authority. And they even kept the name to the Irene Thomas Hospice, and they now provide MAiD there with their own staff.
Well, how it just boggles the mind. How could they do that? How could they basically appropriate all of those properties and materials and not give any recompense? what justification under law did they have to do that?
So
What did they say?
in the lease, this thick, the lease document, there
Yes.
was a portion in there. So basically, what they maneuvered a manufactured lease um, uh, issue. Okay, so it said in the lease, you got to be working with the government. You have to be receiving some kind of funding. So
Yes.
they cut the funding.
Oh,
So manufactured lease issue where we weren't getting the funding because they took it. So then they said, well, listen, this little issue, this little fine print in the lease, you're not getting funding, so we're canceling the lease. So that was about almost 25 years left on that land lease, right?
yes.
So manufactured lease default is what we're talking about. So
Wow. That's talk about subterfuge. This sounds like catch 22, and they hold all the cards. Then
yeah,
they take your hand away. You've got nothing, no cards to play with because they control the lease on the basis of funding to your hospice. Well, that seems like really dirty pool. That they weren't embarrassed at all with. with
well, apparently, might is right. The government holds all the cards, probably for every one of us. We have to recognize that
yes.
we are just serfs. And they hold a monopoly on all of us, and it was just very clear through that little maneuver
You
exactly
know,
who's in charge.
this really you talk about they hold all the cards, and I'm just thinking back to Freedom Convoy 2022, and some people got together to challenge vaccine mandates, and they were set upon by the government. How dare you challenge the government mandates? And they were set upon by the Emergencies Act, which turned out to be illegal, but is still up in the air as far as the government is concerned. And so we have. It seems like in our health system we've come to a place where there's the solutions are one size fit all. And in this case, it's MAiD. It's something that cannot be denied. It must be in the health system. It has become almost like a cult religion. And this whole MAiD thing, how did we get to this point with MAiD? It started out, I think, with the Rodriguez case in the 90s, I believe it was, and it was a matter of being compassionate and giving people the choice to basically have assisted suicide. But how did it go from that to an all-important piece of the public health puzzle that it could not be denied? How did we get to this point?
Well, much of it is judiciary motivated. Much of this was pushed through the courts. The
Yes,
Canadian people never had a choice about any of it. And so, with the help of the court, which is still going on now, and we're talking about the mentally ill, and we're talking about religious liberty and Charter of Rights, it's all being pushed through the court. The courts, of course, are appointed here in Canada by the government. So
yes.
that's really where it's starting and ending. But in all of that, we are truly seeing a consortium now of, I call it Empire Made. So it's the judiciary, the government, the ministries, the bureaucracy, national lobby groups with tremendous amounts of money and power, and just a very potent narrative, which it's just propaganda,
Well,
slogans.
these lobby groups are that you say have a lot of money and power. Are they funded by the government, by the way? Do they have government?
Yeah, some of them do. So, Dying with Dignity Canada has tremendous, they have received some money during the COVID years from the government, but really they don't really need it. They have tremendous amounts of funding, private funding.
Hmm?
We've even found that Pfizer even gives them money.
Oh,
So
yeah.
interesting,
Wow.
absolutely. We don't know exactly how much. That's interesting, but they have money. Like in 2024 alone, they were spending almost $1.5 million on salaries of people all day long just to think about how to push the agenda. They're spending
Wow.
in 2024 over $800,000 just in advertising and marketing on how to push that agenda. We see a CAMAP, so the Canadian Assessors and Providers, a not-for-profit, have received over $6 million from the federal government. You see, we
Okay.
don't get any money from the government. They just take our stuff. But these people on the right side, apparently, they get lots of money and lots of favor from the government. And they produce, so CAMAC produces publications, which is being sent to every doctor, nurse, a medical professional in Canada telling them of their obligation to raise MAiD euthanasia
Yeah.
as a healthcare option.
Healthcare option.
Yes,
Isn't
yes,
that kind of a justification of terms there? Holy mackerel! Now, the like you say, they hold all the cards. I mean, these lobby groups are getting government funding, and they seem to be, the push is on, has been from the start to expand MAiD. We started out where MAiD was supposed to be for those people who, in the foreseeable future, were going to die. We're going to lose their lives. But then we saw that expand, and it was taken to court, as you say, and then it went from foreseeable future to irreconcilable hardships in the 2021 timeframe. And in that same time frame, we saw them try to expand, and this is really crazy, where they tried to expand it to cover people who had mental illness. And that initiative is still out there. I guess they couldn't get it through. It's just too controversial, and they're getting some international pushback on this from other countries who already had MAiD. So we have this machine, this, as you say, you call it an empire,
empire. Mhm.
empire that is
Yeah.
that is pushing this. And I must say, I have a military background, and I still have contacts in the military, and it seems like it's expanded to the point where they're taking people who are back from combat duties, have PTSD, and they're offering them MAiD. Well, maybe this is the solution that you should be considering because you're having a hard time with PTSD. We've also seen instances where people are offering MAiD or being offered MAiD or are asking for MAiD who have they're in economic hard times and hard straits. And I think there's even been some approvals of folks in that kind of category. But I don't know. It's really kind of scary stuff, and just me, as a student of history, I'm seeing parallels here between what's happening in Canada, the way they're pushing this stuff on everybody as part of the medical system, with what the Nazi Germany did in the 30s with their Action T4 program, which again
Yes.
was started, on a compassionate basis. Uh, we had a father, write into Adolf Hitler at the time, saying, "I have a daughter. She's having a very rough time. You know, she would benefit by having uh, her life taken." And Hitler wrote back and said, "Yeah, it sounds like a good idea." And that was the start of Action T4. But that's just me. That's this just
No,
from
I
what I'm looking at.
100% agree with you. Because I think that most Canadians don't even recognize the insidious nature of this when it
Yes.
comes to the mentally ill. So that is just a sunset clause. So that has been passed as part of Bill C7. The sunset clause has just been pushed back. It's now been pushed back to 2027, where that
Ah.
will come into effect, right? So it's there, it's on paper, it's in the books. The issue now, which is very interesting, is that Dying with Dignity Canada has an action inside of the Ontario court system to push that to be to come into effect a lot sooner. So if that, again, through the courts, if they were to win that, then the courts would mandate that, death by MAiD for the sole purpose, underlying condition of mental illness. That's it. That's all you need. The other most very horrible thing that's happening is they're going after our children for MAiD. And that has been in the works for a
Yes.
long time.
Yes.
There has been a joint committee between the Senate and the House, which is hearings from all the experts, brought doctors and professors and lawyers, and they have come up with their recommendations. Those recommendations were released in February of 2023. A number of recommendations, which basically say that within 5 years, we're going to change the criminal code to include mature minors because they won't
Okay.
say children, that they're going to go after the very sick children first, that parents will have nothing to do with the process. It will be between the children and the doctor,
Okay.
that Health Canada is going to be funded to not only discuss this with children, but to create opportunities to educate children, and they have done with the MAiD activity book, which you may have
Mhm.
seen, for
No, I haven't seen that. No. Oh.
ages 6 to 12. I mean, there's so much going on behind the scenes of which the
You did tell
average
me that
Canadian,
they have a MAiD activity book, like a coloring book for kids 6 to 12 to
yes,
familiarize themselves with
yes,
committing suicide.
right. Well, it's because the children have to be educated about MAiD
Oh
in
my God.
case somebody in their family, blah, blah, blah. But it has, very, very interesting tips for the children about what is it, making plans for MAiD, step by step for MAiD. And they're calling these euthanasia poisons medicine
Yes.
for the children,
Medicine.
right? Medicine,
Okay.
right?
That's okay. That's like mandated vaccines that haven't been don't have any long-term studies to back them up, and they become mandated. And again, we see this one-size-fits-all approach to medicine, whether it be vaccines or MAiD. And I see people like yourself, Angelina, challenging this and standing up against it. But wow, you're against, as you say, the empire. But it's not just you know, trying to give people a choice and trying to give them authentic palliative care. I mean, this is also about uh, looking at alternative means and methods of helping people get out of their states of distress, whether they be children or the mentally ill. Uh, it seems like this our whole medical system is now turning on this the grand solution. This is the grand solution. This is going to solve everything. As a matter of fact, maybe you can comment on it, but I've seen a couple of articles where Health Canada officials have actually said that MAiD looks like it's going to be a money boon. We're going to save lots. Taxpayers are going to save a lot of money by killing ourselves. So, have you seen reports like that?
Of course, of course. And of course, this is very economically driven. It's almost like the perfect storm. They have an ideology which very much backs it up, and an economy with a healthcare system that is broke and broken. And here they've come up with the panacea. On other parts of history, they would have called it the perfect solution or whatever, but this is for them. And it is being pushed. Euthanasia is becoming the king of all procedures in
Yeah.
Canada, where it must be offered in every single bed in the healthcare system. That isn't even how the healthcare system is set up, right? The healthcare system in Canada is set up whereby you have specialties. For example, in Delta, where I live, it's over 100,000 people, but you can't have your baby here. You have to go out to another city because they just they don't have a maternity ward. We have specialties. You go here for this, you go here for that. And we've all been okay with that. Now MAiD comes in, and apparently you're supposed to be able to force it into every single bed in the country. And that's
Okay.
exactly what's happening.
So it's outside that specialty regime. It's kind of entered into a mandatory regime. This is mandated stuff that you can't walk away from. And people like yourself, Angelina, and Delta Hospice Society, who challenge this, they are punished. You were punished when they took all of your buildings and your land away and truncated your lease. That was punishment. Now, after that happened, I guess the Delta Hospice Society had to change, and now it's looking to establish other hospices. But
Yeah.
you don't have a hospice in place now, do you? I don't.
So we do. So we have the organization. So they weren't
Yeah.
able to take the organization from us. So they weren't able to destroy us. I mean, they
Okay.
tried. They, illegally, personally, they tried to destroy the resistance. But we have not only survived, we have thrived, and we have raised money, and we are now in the position to be able to open another hospice.
Okay.
The issue, of course, is
Mm.
that they don't want it. They don't want us to do that.
Obviously, obviously. Well, the last thing they want to see is some upstart, actually have public support and collect money to get a hospice in place that has authentic palliative care.
Yes.
But I guess the attempt to get a hospice, another one in BC, is becoming extremely difficult. How are they keeping you from taking your support and creating another hospice in BC. What are they doing?
Well, they've stonewalled us. They won't even
Okay.
speak to us. They like we're just apparently dead to them. I'm sure they would prefer that, but they won't. I've tried to speak with the Minister of Health. So back in the day, it was the dictator. Okay, Adrian Dix, right? And
Yes.
he's now been pushed off to another portfolio, and they have a new lady who's now the Minister of Health, and she won't speak to me. I've spent letters, emails, telephone. No, they won't talk to me. Even the NDP MLA in Delta, Ravi Kaloon, I'm not really sure what his portfolio is these days. He gets to, switch around a lot, but he won't even speak to us. So we can't even get in the door to have a conversation.
Yeah.
We're not going to, spend $1 million to open another facility just to be in their crosshairs again so they can take it from us. So we want to have assurances that you're going to allow an authentic palliative care facility. Look, I'm only looking for 10 beds. That is the mission, 10 authentic hospice beds, and I would likely be quiet, but we can't even have that. So, now we're looking to Alberta to allow us to have an authentic hospice of, perhaps 10 beds. And, we have had some discussions with the Alberta government, and
Okay.
it would appear that they are open to allowing us to, like, we haven't even asked them for any money. We're walking in the door with $1 million,
Mhm.
trying to, for the
Amazing.
public health care system, trying to establish just choice, because nobody would come to us that didn't want it, right? They would choose to
No.
come.
Yeah.
And so now we're looking in Alberta for property to allow us to build a sanctuary. And so I'm in the hunt right now for property.
Okay. My understanding is that when you went to the British Columbia government, that you even you offered to, hey, uh, you know, you have a big say in things if your funding is 50% or more. But I'll tell you what, we're the Delta Hospice Society. Forget about the 50%. We'll come in with our own money, and you fund us to maybe 49%, so you don't have to, you don't have to worry about things. And they wouldn't
Yeah,
even.
no. At the end of the day, we said, listen, just keep your funding. Just
Okay.
keep it, right?
All
All
of
we
it, just
want,
all of
all
it.
it, all of it. Look, it's not funding. They took our assets, right? They didn't not they just wanted to destroy us. We're saying, listen, we don't need your funding. We've got money. We think that there's a constituency in this country that would welcome a sanctuary for the dying, that could
Yes.
come and be taken care of, with appropriate care that doesn't talk to them about MAiD. Look, we're looking for a MAiD-free zone. Ultimately, that's what we want.
Yeah.
A MAiD-free zone that is apparently in this country now out of the question. We want to stand on Section 7 of the Charter.
Okay. Wait. Well, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Aren't the proponents of MAiD standing on Section 7 as well?
Yeah,
Section
yeah,
7 is the right to life, liberty, and security of the person.
yeah.
But the MAiD proponents are saying, well, we're using Section 7, and now you're saying you're going to use Section 7.
Well, it's okay for them, but
Sure.
apparently it's not okay for me. Not for me, right? So all pigs are created equal, but some pigs are created more equal than others.
Well, I think you have a very good point there. Is this you're taking the Section 7 argument to the BC Supreme Court, I imagine? And
Yes.
I'll tell you where I'm looking at this from a charter perspective. It's very, very overlooked, but there is a preamble to the charter, and the original intent of the preamble in the charter, according to people who wrote or drafted the charter, Brian Peckford for one, who I've had on a couple of in-hot interviews, said that the preamble is is basically the door that opens the way to the charter, the whole of the charter that follows. And the preamble is supposed to provide the guidelines for the rest of charter sections to be in accordance with, including Section 7. The preamble states plainly that Canada is based on fundamental principles that include the supremacy of God and the rule of law. Now, if you're looking at interpreting Section 7, I would say that, well, you have to, if you want to be in compliance with the preamble, which is supposed to be the guidelines, Well, it's saying that the supremacy of God, and right there in our concept of Judeo-Christian values, that includes the dignity of life, the sanctity and the dignity of life. So I can't see where your use of the Section 7 would be less applicable than their use of Section 7, which says that they really are going for the right to take life away, to extinguish it.
Yes, yes, and we would even argue that, because of organizations like CAMAP educating or re-educating the medical profession, that they have to bring it up always. They always have to bring up euthanasia as a healthcare option. That there are
Yeah.
very, very few places that are really safe, particularly for the vulnerable. We've had case after case of people coming to us with stage 4 cancer, and their doctors are walking in saying, "Oh, have you considered MAiD?"
Wow.
We want to provide a space where none of this is happening, where people
Yeah.
are being taken care of. There's no MAiD, there's no MAiD assessors even allowed on property. That we are authentically palliative care driven, and that's palliative care is a national treasure, of which
Yes.
is being destroyed in this country. I mean, Dr. Balfour Mount from McGill University, he's ours, like he's a Canadian. This is a Canadian identity we're talking about. And he said publicly, MAiD has nothing to do with palliative care. Full stop. We do
No.
nothing to hasten the death of our patients. So we want to create a national heritage sanctuary for palliative care.
Well, isn't that more in line with the Hippocratic Oath and Doctor do no harm? As a first principle, do no harm. I mean,
Absolutely.
I think from what you're saying, Angelina, it seems like what you're describing here is like a propaganda program. It's like a indoctrination. It's all over the place. It's in schools. It's being kids are coloring in activity books. 6 years old, learning all about MAiD and all the good things about it. This is propaganda. This is a narrative that is well,
Right.
could be seen as
Straight up,
toxic.
straight up with all the slogans: compassion, dying with dignity, oh,
Yeah.
human rights. Apparently, that allowed the state to kill you is human rights,
Yeah. Wow.
right?
How
So,
how far have we wandered away from I don't know that preamble and that supremacy of God and rule of law? I mean, that's no. You got one choice here, and it's a mandated option almost. And like I say, I can become quite disturbed when I see friends of mine who are ex-military or military still being offered MAiD when they get their whole lives out in front of them. Wow.
right, right.
I don't know. In As the last question, is there anything, Angelina, that C3RF supporters can do? Can we help you in any way? Where are you going next? Without Alberta, I guess, but where are you going?
Yeah, that is our last stand. I want you to know that there is no place in the inn for us
Yeah.
in this country anymore, except we have one last shot, and that is Alberta. And if we can get something going there, as a small group of people, uh, trying, we're not asking the government for anything. We can do this. We need, your supporters to come on board and contact us and take part of our programs. We have the DNE Defense Kit. We provide literally wallet cards for people to carry that say,
Okay.
"I require health care and not MAiD."
Okay.
Right?
Good.
Come, Delta Hospice Society.org. These are
Yeah.
free programs, right? We're trying to protect people on the front line, and we've
Yeah.
had tremendous success with it.
Obviously.
Um, and really, we're looking for a property in Alberta. If you know of something, contact us. We have a toll-free number, 1-800
Hmm.
232 1589,
Okay.
or visit our website, deltahospicesociety.org.
Okay.
I'm putting the call out nationally. We need a property. We need it now. We have the money. We're ready to go. And we
I hear you.
just, right? So this is what it looks like this is what nation building looks like, actually. We are going to do something that we have a behemoth against us.
Yes, you do.
But
Yeah.
still we stand and still we fight. They have not been able to take us down. In 4 or 5 years, they've been trying, everybody. They've even come after me personally. and tried to terrorize me and my family in my home to cancel me. Doesn't matter. They can take me out. There'll be somebody here to sit in this spot, even if they take me out. This is right. This is the hill that I will die on. We need a sanctuary in this country for the dying that the state cannot euthanize and eliminate, the useless eaters. And we're going to have this done.
Yeah. Okay. Useless eaters. That now you've just raised the whole specter of this whole effort to globalize and all the woke narratives that go with it. This, you're saying, this could be part and parcel of that whole program of taking control away from we the people and giving it to experts who know better than us how we should live or die. Wow. Now, did I hear properly? Is there a petition out that you've got going, or
No, we
no?
haven't a petition. No, we don't. We
Okay.
look, I to be quite honest, I don't really have a lot of faith in petitions. I'm much more about action.
Yeah.
I much more believe that we can, if we can open, for example, a sanctuary, it will be the first of many. And which is maybe why they don't want us to do it. But
Exactly.
if we can show how we can actually do something, I'm not interested in any online petitions. I'm not interested in any call your MLA, call your MP. No. We need to do something. This is one way that we can actually do something. And, we're asking the Canadian people to support us, help us find a property. When we get the property, to support us so that we can continue operating it, to come so that we can take care of you. This is one way. If I want to call it a call to action, this is one way, and it's beautiful. Actually, it's a beautiful way to help take care of each other, to help take care of Canadians.
I think you're right there, Angelina. I think it is a beautiful, and probably the only way, because petitions and such basically fall on deaf ears, as you've seen. They just don't even bother talking to you. They're so confident in their ability to shut down any challenge to their basically civil liberties overreach is what they're doing. But I must say, I admire your tenacity and your energy. You are you are a force of nature, Angelina, and we here at C3RF wish you all the best in these very, very important and critical endeavors. Thank you very much.
Thank you. God bless you.
Okay. See you later.